wherever you might be. My name is Sean, and I'm delighted you're joining us today's ESPC Community webinar. Today, I'm joined by Paolo Piazzi, MV from Microsoft, who will be covering Lightning Talk, introducing Work IQ for developers. We love hearing you guys have to say, so remember, join the conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is at ESPC_community, and our hashtag is hashtag ESPC26. Tweet us, tag us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which updates the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting espc.tech and clicking the Learning Hub tab at the top of the page. Don't forget to join us for our next webinar, The Importance of Agent Design in Copilot Studio, with Catherine Boulevard, MVP, taking place tomorrow on Friday, the 15th of May at 4 p.m. CEST. To register, visit Microsoft Copilot Week registration page. Join us at ESPC 26 this November in Amsterdam. The newly announced program features 120 plus sessions across 9 expert-led tracks covering Microsoft 365, Copilot, AI, Power Platform, security, governance, agents, and more, including real-world insights from Microsoft experts and MVPs. Super early bird tickets are available until the 26th of May. Use code Copilot Week for additional savings and book using the QR code. Early bird pricing ends Friday the 15th of May. Secure a ticket to EPBC 26 and expand your knowledge across Power Apps, Copilot Studio, Copilot, AI, Power Automate, Security, and Dynamics. Use code Copilot Week for additional savings and scan the QR code to book now. After the webinar, we'll have a dedicated Q&A sessions. Please feel free to type questions into the chat box and Paolo will get to them in the chat. Today's session is a pre-recorded presentation being broadcast live as part of the webinar series. This webinar is being recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you'll be notified by email when it's available. And now I'm going to play the pre-recorded video.
Hello, and welcome to this webinar about understanding Work IQ for developers. I'm Paolo Pialorsi, and I'm a Senior Developer Advocate in Microsoft. And today we are going to dig into Work IQ. So first of all, let's have an understanding of what Work IQ is. And from the Microsoft perspective, Work IQ is the intelligent layer that personalizes Copilot to you and your organization. What does that mean? Well, when you think about the AI nowadays, we have plenty of documents and content available in our organizations. And we can rely on the large language models, the LLM or the AI models, to work on this content and on this data that we have in our tenant. However, that's not enough. In real life, we also have a specific context when we work. We have specific user interacting with the AI, and we have specific preferences for those users. So if we add on top of the data that we have in our tenants or in our organizations, the context and the information and the preferences of the user, and we also add on top of that skills and tools, we can create more powerful experiences that allow the users to rely on the engine of Copilot in our specific case, with the capability to have a personalized experience to you and to your organization. From an architectural perspective, WorkIQ sits on top of the AI models available in Microsoft 365 Copilot, like for example OpenAI, Anthropic, and more. From an architectural perspective, inside WorkIQ we have a data layer which is based on the content and information that we have in Microsoft 365, like for example, files stored in SharePoint and OneDrive, emails stored in Exchange Online, chat messages stored in Microsoft Teams, and so on and so forth, as well as data coming from Microsoft Dynamics 365, or data stored in Microsoft Dataverse through Power Apps and Power Automate, as well as data coming from other external business systems like line of business data that we can use to provide real-time understanding of the business data of our organization. On top of the data layer, we have the context layer. At the context layer, we have the memory and the activity of the users interacting with WorkIQ, so that we have the capability to learn from your unique style and preference and habits, and we can learn from your workflows, understanding your patterns over time. We also have the semantic index, and we have the basic understanding of what you do inside your business. Then on top of that, we have the skills and tools, which are the Copilot actions, the WorkIQ MCP tools, the WorkIQ CLI, as well as the business skills that allow WorkIQ to know how to go through the workflow processes of our organization. When it comes to the user experience, we can rely on WorkIQ through the out-of-the-box user experience of Microsoft 365 Copilot, the Microsoft 365 apps, Microsoft Teams, Dynamics 365, Power Apps, and the pre-built agents we have in Microsoft 365 Copilot, as well as we can extend the Microsoft 365 Copilot offering with custom-built agents that can be built with Microsoft Copilot Studio, Microsoft Foundry, GitHub Copilot, and many more options in a fully agentic world. When it comes to consuming WorkIQ from a practical point of view, we have multiple options. First of all, we need to think about WorkIQ as a set of APIs which will be provided through different protocols, as you will see soon. And these APIs allow us to have a unified surface that we can use to consume all of the capabilities, the powerful capabilities of WorkIQ, whether you are consuming them as a human being or as an agent. There will be response fidelity because all of the interaction with WorkIQ will have the same reasoning, the same data, the same grounding and formatting as any other interaction you will have with Copilot itself. And we have multi-protocol support. And in fact, as you will see soon, with WorkIQ, we can consume the APIs with different protocols depending on the pattern and on the context where we are. No matter what, when we talk about security and compliance, with WorkIQ, we had full fidelity about security and compliance. So all of the information is always security trimmed. Whenever you retrieve some information through WorkIQ, that information will always be security trimmed and safe. It is designed to work in the user context of the user interacting with WorkIQ. So it works with delegated access token permissions. The user must have a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, or in the near future, we will also be able to support the pay-as-you-go model. And the user context can also be the one of an agent identity with Agent 365. And there is also compliance in place so that all of the content that we retrieve to the WorkIQ API surface is always safe and secured from a data loss prevention perspective. As I was telling you before, from a protocol strategy, WorkIQ is provided and offered through multiple protocols. For example, if we have a pattern of interaction between a human being and an agent, then we can rely on a REST API. And so we can make a REST API request to consume WorkIQ. But when we have an agent-to-agent interaction pattern, then we can rely on the A2A protocol, the agent-to-agent protocol, which is the best choice whenever you have two agents interacting with each other. Then, if you have an interaction between an agent and a tool, as the pattern you want to follow, then you can rely on the MCP, Model Context Protocol protocol. So, three different protocols offering the same API surface, and you can choose whatever you need based on your actual interaction pattern. You might be wondering why we have WorkIQ, since we already had Microsoft Graph to access some of the information available in Microsoft 365. Well, here we need to be really clear. Microsoft Graph was designed with data in mind for giving you and us data access. When it comes to Microsoft Graph, we target interactive users or custom applications running in the backend as daemons, for example, with application-only token. So we support delegated token and application token. We can use Microsoft Graph to interact with all of the Microsoft 365 workloads, and we can mainly access the data available through those workloads, as well as we can sometimes also manage the settings and the configuration of those workloads available and defined in Microsoft 365. When you use Microsoft Graph, there are throttling rules enforced to avoid you to overload the services and to protect the scalability of the workload. And as I said, with Microsoft Graph, you can access data with the application-only token or with the delegated access token. When it comes to WorkIQ has been designed with intelligence in mind. So the overall goal of WorkIQ is to support the intelligence consumption of Microsoft 365 Copilot. So it has been designed for the agent experience, not for the data consumption experience. And it allows consuming data, skills, and tools, not only data, as you saw in the previous architectural slide. And when you do so, through WorkIQ, you also keep track of the user context. So we can only use a delegated access token. We don't have support for an application-only token because we necessarily need to have a user context to being able to interact with WorkIQ and to retrieve the information and the intelligence we are looking for using the context of the user, both from a security perspective and from a compliance perspective, as well as to provide all of the context in place that I was talking about before when I was showing you the architecture of WorkIQ. So let's have a look at WorkIQ in action with a practical demo that I will use to show you how you can interact with WorkIQ with the different protocols I was talking about. So first have a look at the WorkIQ REST APIs. And specifically here, I'm going to use a tool which is called Copilot Showroom, and that we are going to release pretty soon. Through this tool, you can interact with the chat API provided by WorkIQ. As you can see here, I can start a new chat and I can have a conversation with the WorkIQ chat. For example, I can say, who is my manager? And now I'm providing this prompt under the context of my currently connected user. So the request is targeting the intelligence of Microsoft 365 Copilot, and it is retrieving the information which are related to the specific user I'm using right now. In the backend, I'm using the WorkIQ chat API to retrieve the answer from the engine of Microsoft 365 Copilot, and here is the answer. Here I can see who my manager is, and I can proceed working with this API. For example, I can say, when is my next meeting with him? And this will be the next prompt, I'm going to send through the WorkIQ chat API via REST to retrieve this additional information within the context of the conversation where I am. While it is processing my request, we can open the API log, and we can see that, first of all, we created a conversation. We made a post request to create a new conversation, and we have got back a response with a unique ID for the conversation I'm in. And then I made a couple of chat requests within the same conversation. This is exactly the ID we got back when we created a new conversation. And here, for example, my first request is with the prompt message, who is my manager? And I get back a response with the information about who my manager is. And then I have another request, which will still be in the same context and in the same conversation context. And now it will be for when is my next meeting with him. So this is one option when we want to rely on the REST API. Actually, through this tool, we can even do more. We can, for example, inspect the MCP endpoints we have with the MCP Explorer. We can play with other agents and stuff like that. So it is a really powerful tool that we can use to interact with the available options through WorkIQ. We can also have a nice look at the search options we have. Right now, we are not talking anymore about WorkIQ here. We're focusing on the search capabilities. And we can compare the output using Copilot Showroom. We can compare the output of the lexical search, of the semantic search of Copilot, and of the retrieval API that we have available in Microsoft Graph. So, for example, if I want to search something which is related to WorkIQ, I can say, I want to find content about WorkIQ. This will be my search prompt. And as you can see now, I can get back the result from the lexical search that I have through Microsoft Graph. I can get back the semantic search result from Copilot, and I can get back the retrieval API result from the Copilot retrieval API available in Microsoft Graph. And I can compare the output and choose which is the best one, which is the best option for my specific scenario. So This is when we talk about having the REST APIs in place, and the WorkIQ chat API is the main sample related to WorkIQ, while this one about the search capabilities and the comparison of the search results is more related on just being able to identify the best fit for your needs when it comes to searching content with natural language. Now, let me switch to the next demo, and here I'm going to show you how you can use the A2A protocol with WorkIQ. Specifically, here I'm going to use the WorkIQ CLI console, and I'm going to start the A2A server locally on my machine, which you can use for development purposes, for testing purposes, in order to run the A2A server locally on your dev environment, in order to use it from external consumers. In my scenario, I'm going to rely on the A2A inspector tool, which is a tool you can get on GitHub, and which I'm running locally on my machine. Now, as you can see, it is running on localhost. Now, I provided the URL of the agent card, which is the JSON document which defines what my agent, the WorkIQ agent, is providing to other agents. So I can connect to this specific endpoint to get the card. And in the agent card, we can see that we have the description, the name, the transport protocol, and all of the information we need to learn how to interact over A2A with this specific agent, with the WorkIQ agent. And then again, from here, I can start an interaction providing prompts. And for the sake of consistency, I'm going to use exactly the same prompt that I used before. So I can say, for example, who is my manager? Again, and one more time, here I am in the security context of my current user. So the prompt I'm sending is in the context of my user in the Microsoft Corp tenant. Here we can see we have streaming, and we can see that the agent is working on my request. We can also see that I've got a request on my A2A server, which is now processing the request. And soon we will get back a response from the intelligence of Microsoft 365 Copilot to see who my manager is. And here we are. I still get, of course, the same response as before. And again, I can, for example, make an additional request within the same conversation context, and I can say, when is my next meeting with him, as we did before, to see that we have a consistent behavior regardless the protocol that we use. So before we were using the REST API, now we are using A2A, and we are going to retrieve the same output, the same intelligence, but now with a different protocol, because now the pattern is the one of the interaction between two agents, so the agent-to-agent interaction. And I see that I have the following meetings set up with my manager in the upcoming days. Okay, so now the third option we have is to rely on the model context protocol, MCP protocol. So let me switch to the third scenario. Let me, for the sake of simplicity, start the GitHub Copilot CLI with the banner, because I love the banner of GitHub Copilot CLI. And now, in this context of the GitHub Copilot CLI, as you can see, I have 34 skills, I have 2 MCP servers and 1 plugin. And I'm based on a set of extensions which include the WorkIQ extension. So for example, here again, I can interact with the GitHub Copilot CLI interface. I can provide a prompt, and this prompt will work with the MCP tools made available by WorkIQ. So as you can imagine, my prompt will still be who is my manager, to show you that, again, for the sake of consistency, we will get back the same response as before. Now we are in the context of GitHub Copilot CLI. GitHub Copilot CLI, based on the prompt that I provided, determined that since the user is asking about their manager, which is a question about work and organizational information, this is something that Microsoft 365 Copilot WorkIQ could help with. So we are going to use the Ask WorkIQ MCP tool, providing the who is my manager prompt. And in order to do so, I need to consent, I need to authorize GitHub Copilot CLI to consume my external MCP tool. So here I'm going to say yes, that it's okay for me to proceed. So now GitHub Copilot CLI is relying on the MCP tool of WorkIQ to retrieve the information I'm looking for. And in a matter of few seconds, I'll be able to see again and one more time who my manager is. And of course, is always Barnum, who is my manager. And here I get my response, and your manager is Barnum Ball. Perfect. Now, it's like as before, when I have my next meeting with him. And again, here, in the same context as before, we know who I am. We know who my manager is. And now we need to rely on Ask WorkIQ MCP tool to get the response for when is my next meeting. I need to consent again, or if you like, you can consent for the whole session with the second option. For the sake of explaining you what's going on, I'm consenting one by one all of the requests. But now, WorkIQ MCP is processing my request. The intelligence layer of Microsoft 365 Copilot is building the response that I will get back, and I will see the output in the user experience of GitHub Copilot CLI. Matter of few more seconds, and we should be able to see, here we are, we have plenty of meetings in my agenda, but these are the 2 upcoming meetings that I have with my manager in the upcoming days or hours. So really cool, really powerful, no matter what the pattern is. If we are in a human to agent interaction, we use the REST endpoint. If we are in an agent to agent interaction, we use the A2A protocol. And if we are in an agent to tool interaction, we use the MCP protocol. But we always get the same consistent response based on the intelligence layer of Microsoft 365 Copilot built on top of our own data, providing context, skills, and tools. As you just saw, WorkIQ is a really powerful technology, and if you want to dig more into WorkIQ, you can also tune in on the Microsoft IQ series we have on the internet, and specifically go to the WorkIQ series, which is available at aka.ms/IQ-series. There you will find plenty of content, including videos, samples, and cookbooks that you can use to learn more about IQ in general, because when we talk about IQ, we can talk about Foundry IQ, Fabric IQ, or Work IQ, which was the topic of this webinar. And specifically when talking about Work IQ, you can find a bunch of content to dig into Work IQ and learn more about it. You can also rely on some useful links, like for example the public announcement of WorkIQ in preview, as well as the Copilot CLI for Beginners URL, where you can learn how to use GitHub Copilot CLI and how to interact with WorkIQ CLI inside GitHub Copilot CLI. You can go to the WorkIQ main repository full of samples and content to learn more, as well as the IQ series I was talking about. Last but not least, we have a very good coverage of WorkIQ also on the Copilot Developer Camp, so aka.ms/Copilot Dev Camp. That's it. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you at the next webinar.
Thanks, Paolo, for a fantastic presentation and demo. If you feel free to type into the chat now any questions you might have, as Paolo's just there just for the last 2 minutes. So if you have any questions, just put in the chat, and if not. Perfect. That looks like all the questions. So on behalf of the ESPC community, we'd like to extend a big thank you to you, Paolo, for taking time out to present this webinar. Really appreciate it. And yeah, you'll receive an email after this webinar with the recording. So take care and see you at the next webinar. Thank you.